Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into something today that I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's how nonprofits are proving that they're making a real difference.
Mhm.
So think of this deep dive like a crash course in understanding how these organizations are really upping their game
Yeah.
when it comes to showing their impact.
It's not just about warm, fuzzy feelings anymore, right?
No, exactly.
We're talking like hard data,
Yeah.
innovative methods, a whole new level of transparency.
Yeah, and all of that is really highlighted in the article that we're looking at today called Measure What Matters: Revolutionary Approaches to Nonprofit Impact Assessment.
Yeah, this article is packed with really great examples and insights
It is.
that are going to change the way we think about nonprofit effectiveness.
Yeah, and one of the first things it points out
Mm-hmm.
is that, those kind of old school metrics,
Right.
like dollars raised or the number of people served,
Right.
don't really cut it anymore.
No, they don't tell the whole story.
It's like judging a book by its cover, right?
Exactly.
You need to dig deeper
Yeah,
to understand the true value.
precisely. And the article gives a great example of this,
Okay.
talking about the Nature Conservancy.
Okay.
So they protected millions of acres of land, which sounds impressive,
It does.
but they really needed a better way to prove that all of their efforts were actually like saving biodiversity.
Okay, so they had the what, but they needed the so what.
Exactly.
How did they solve that?
They had to shift their focus from just measuring outputs to tracking outcomes.
Okay.
So that means looking at the long-term effects of their work and asking, like, what actual change are we creating?
Okay, so it's not just about how many acres they protected,
Right.
but whether that protection actually led to healthier ecosystems
Right.
and thriving wildlife.
Exactly.
And that's where these new methods come in.
Exactly.
And one that we see a lot is this social return on investment, or
That's it.
SROI.
That's ROI.
So it sounds like we're putting a price tag on doing good.
In a way, yes.
Oh.
It's about demonstrating the financial value of social impact.
Okay.
So, for example, if a nonprofit invests $1 in a job training program,
Okay.
what is the return on that investment in terms of increased earnings,
Right.
reduced reliance on social services, and overall economic benefits?
So it's like a cost-benefit analysis
Exactly.
for social good.
Exactly. There's a great example of this in the article
Okay.
that highlights a case study of JVS Greater Boston,
Okay.
and they use SROI to evaluate their job training programs.
Okay.
And they found that every dollar invested generated $20 in social value.
$20.
Yes.
Wow. That's a return on investment anyone can get behind.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's a powerful way to demonstrate the impact of their work, not just to donors, but to policymakers and the community as a whole.
Okay, so SROI is definitely a game changer.
It is.
What other innovative approaches are nonprofits using?
Another one that's mentioned in the article is something called Participatory Impact Assessment, or PIA. And this is all about involving the people who are directly affected by the nonprofit's work in the evaluation process.
So it's like giving the community a voice at the table.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And there's this organization called the Feinstein International Center, and they have developed a guide
Okay.
specifically for using PIA in humanitarian work.
Okay.
And it emphasizes gathering insights from the people who benefit from the programs and not just relying on the organization's perspective.
Right, because who knows better than the people
Okay.
who are actually being impacted by the work?
Exactly. And it leads to better data
Right.
because you're getting a more comprehensive understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
And it also makes stakeholders happier because they feel heard and valued.
So it's about building trust.
It is.
And making sure that the evaluation is actually reflective of the
Right.
community's experiences.
And in the end, it leads to fairer and more accurate assessments of the nonprofit's impact.
So we've got SROI putting a dollar value on social good. We've got PIA bringing the community into that evaluation process.
Right.
What else is really shaking things up?
Okay, well, hold on to your hats because technology is about to take center stage.
Ooh, this is where it gets interesting.
It does.
I'm already picturing like robots taking over the nonprofit world, analyzing data at warp speed.
Not quite robots, but we're talking about big data and artificial intelligence,
Okay.
or AI changing the game.
Okay.
They can process massive amounts of data and uncover hidden patterns that humans might miss.
So it's like having a superpowered detective on your team,
Exactly.
sifting through all the clues
Right.
to reveal the true impact.
And there's a great example of this.
Okay.
The Freshwater Trust.
Okay.
They're a river conservation group
Yeah.
that used big data to analyze all sorts of factors affecting water quality.
Like what?
like plants, sunlight, land slope, you name it.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And by using this data-driven approach, they were able to pinpoint the most effective strategies for improving water quality.
And what did they find?
Well, not only did they save millions of dollars,
Wow.
but they created jobs in the process.
So they're saving rivers and boosting the economy.
It's a win-win.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and AI can also be used to predict the success of programs,
Wow.
identify potential problems before they arise, and help organizations allocate resources more effectively.
So it's like having a crystal ball,
Kind of
social impact.
It's pretty amazing.
It is, but it's not just AI and big data, is it?
No, it's not. There's also a whole wave of new software solutions,
Okay.
specifically designed for different types of nonprofit work.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, the article talks about Help You Sponsor.
Okay.
It's a platform for managing child sponsorship programs.
Okay. Yeah, that's a huge part of the nonprofit world.
It is a huge part.
What's so special about this software?
It streamlines all aspects of child sponsorship, from tracking donors and children to facilitating communication between sponsors and kids to monitoring the impact of the sponsorship on a child's life.
So it's making everything more efficient.
It is effective.
More effective.
What kind of results are they seeing?
Some users report saving 5 to 10 hours a week just on data entry alone.
Wow, that's huge.
It is.
That's time that they can spend, actually helping people.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of technology in this space.
Yeah.
It's not about replacing human connection. It's about
Yeah.
amplifying the impact that nonprofits can make.
It's like giving them superpowers.
It is.
But even with all this amazing tech,
Mm-hmm.
there's still one crucial element that can't be overlooked.
And that is
Collaboration.
absolutely. The article highlights how nonprofits are increasingly joining forces, realizing they can achieve much greater impact by working together.
It's like the Avengers assembling
Ha ha ha. I like that.
to tackle the world's toughest challenges.
Yeah, they're pooling their expertise, sharing resources, and learning from each other's successes and failures.
Do we have an example of this superhero team up?
We do.
Okay.
The Strive Partnership in Cincinnati.
They've created a network of over 15 organizations, all focused on improving student outcomes with shared goals and regular meetings to share best practices.
So it's like a brain trust for educational improvement.
Exactly.
What kind of results have they seen?
In just 1 year, they saw a 10% increase in kindergarten readiness scores.
10%. That's amazing.
Yeah, it shows the power of collaboration. When organizations work together towards a common goal, they can really move the needle.
This is inspiring stuff. I'm feeling very hopeful about the future of the nonprofit world.
As am I. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible when it comes to measuring and maximizing impact. And the exciting part is that it really is just the beginning,
Yeah.
Like we're on the verge of a whole new era
Mm-hmm.
of impact assessment,
Okay.
powered by, technology that's evolving so quickly.
Okay, so give me a glimpse into the future. What kind of mind-blowing innovations are we talking about?
One area that I think is really interesting is AI
Okay.
and the potential to analyze qualitative data.
Okay, so not just the numbers,
Not just numbers.
but the stories and the actual human impact.
Exactly. Imagine a system that can go through tons of feedback and stories and pull out the most meaningful insights,
Okay.
identifying common themes, pinpointing areas for improvement, and gauging the emotional impact of the work.
So it's like having a super-powered research assistant.
It is.
Who can just process all that messy human data
Yeah,
and turn it into something that we can actually work with.
exactly. And it could revolutionize the way that nonprofits understand their beneficiaries and measure the true impact of their programs.
So it's not just about proving impact. It's
Right.
about learning and improving.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And speaking of reaching donors, get this, personalized impact reporting.
Personalized. What does that mean?
So imagine receiving a report that highlights the specific projects that your contributions have supported
Wow, okay.
with real-time updates, photos, and videos.
Wow, so it's like a donor is on a journey with the organization, and they can see firsthand how their support is making a difference.
Exactly. And it's not just reports either.
Okay.
We could have interactive dashboards
Okay.
where donors can see the progress in real time,
Okay.
or even virtual reality experiences
Wow.
that immerse them in the work they're funding.
That is next level.
It is.
Taking donor engagement to a whole new dimension.
Absolutely. And all of this could lead to deeper connections,
Mhm.
increased giving, and more passionate supporters.
It's a win-win for everybody.
It is.
Okay, but While we're getting all starry-eyed about the future,
Right.
we have to remember there are some challenges facing nonprofits today,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to measuring their impact.
You're right. A lot of organizations, especially smaller ones, might struggle with limited resources or lack the expertise to implement some of these methods.
So what advice would you give to a nonprofit leader who's just starting out with this? Like, where do they even begin?
Well, the good news is you don't need a huge budget or a fancy data science degree. Yeah, to get started, there are a ton of free and low-cost tools.
Oh, like what?
Simple things like Google Forms
Oh, okay.
for surveys or Google Data Studio for visualizations
Yeah.
can really go a long way. And just remember, it's okay to start small,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Just focus on measuring one program really well.
Right. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
A lot of funders offer support, and there are consultants and experts out there that can give you guidance.
It's a learning process, right? It's okay to make mistakes along the way.
Exactly. View it as a journey,
Yeah.
not a race.
Yeah. I love that.
And, we've talked a lot about the technical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, impact assessment is really about telling stories.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
So numbers are important, but they don't capture that human element.
No, they don't.
So let's talk stories. What are some examples of nonprofits that are just like killing it?
Okay, so the article highlights a bunch of great examples. And one that I really loved is UNICEF Croatia.
Okay.
They faced a challenge when the pandemic hit,
Okay.
and they had to cancel their biggest fundraising event.
Oh no, fundraising events are a lifeline for so many organizations.
They are, and it was a major setback.
Mm.
But instead of giving up, they got creative.
Okay.
They partnered with a tech company to create a virtual fundraising event
Okay.
called the Milky Way Race.
A virtual race. Okay, tell me more.
It was this gamified campaign
Okay.
where people could track their progress, compete with friends, and raise money for maternity wards.
I love that.
Yeah, and they even got to be Milky Way stars.
Uh-huh. So they turned a crisis into an opportunity to innovate and
Exactly.
engage with their supporters in a new way.
And the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. What happened?
They had over 5,500 participants
Wow.
and raised over 700,000 Croatian kuna,
Wow. That's amazing.
exceeding their goal.
So it shows the power of thinking outside the box and embracing technology.
And adaptability and resilience,
Yeah. Especially in times of uncertainty.
especially.
Okay, that's one amazing story. What other impact superstars are out there?
The article also spotlights World Vision
Okay.
and their approach to child sponsorship.
Okay.
They're all about long-term commitment and deep engagement with the communities they serve.
It's so important. It's not just about throwing money at a problem.
Right.
It's about building relationships and empowering those communities.
Exactly. They only work in communities where they're invited,
Okay.
and they partner with local leaders to identify the most pressing needs.
So they're not swooping in with a predetermined agenda.
They are not.
They're really listening to the community.
They're listening and working collaboratively.
Yeah, to create change that's going to last.
Exactly. And they're in it for the long haul.
Mm.
They typically work in a community for around 15 years.
Wow. That is a serious commitment
It is.
that shows that they're really invested in the well-being
Mhm.
of those children and families.
And it goes beyond just the financial support.
Uh.
They connect children with mentors through letters and partner with local churches to offer spiritual guidance and support.
So it's a holistic approach
It is.
that addresses not just the material needs, but emotional and spiritual well-being.
Yes.
Mhm.
They believe that nurturing the whole child is
That would-
essential
Mm.
for breaking that cycle of poverty
Mhm.
and empowering them to reach their full potential.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
These are powerful stories. It's so inspiring to see this kind of work happening all over the world.
It is. And there's another organization that's doing some really cool things.
Okay.
One Child.
One child.
I'm not familiar with them.
They also focus on child sponsorship,
Okay.
but they have this really unique approach
Okay.
where in addition to the financial aid,
Mhm.
they connect the kids with mentors and partner with churches to provide spiritual guidance.
So it's really about nurturing the whole child, not just meeting the basic needs.
Exactly. And they believe that this approach helps children develop a really strong sense of self-worth and purpose, which are essential for breaking the cycle of poverty.
They are.
Wow.
And they really emphasize the importance of shaping children's worldviews
Okay.
and helping them develop a positive outlook on life.
So instilling hope and resilience,
Exactly.
which are so important for overcoming adversity
Yes.
and building a better future.
They are. And Their work has shown that investing in a child's holistic development really has that ripple effect.
Yeah, it spreads out.
It does.
Impacts their families and their whole community.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored some amazing success stories.
We have?
We've talked about so much.
Mm,
From the really technical nuts and bolts of impact assessment
right.
to the amazing work that's happening all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are some key takeaways that you really want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the most important takeaway is that measuring impact is no longer optional.
Yeah.
It is absolutely crucial for nonprofit success.
It's about moving beyond the vanity metrics and proving that you're making a difference.
Exactly. And the good news is that there are more tools and resources available than ever before to help track progress and tell impact stories effectively.
So if you are a nonprofit leader and you've been putting this off,
Yeah,
now's the time.
now is the time to take the plunge.
Yeah, and remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
It is.
Don't be afraid to experiment and learn from your mistakes
Absolutely.
and constantly improve what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So start small, focus on outcomes, embrace technology, and ask for help.
All great advice.
And never lose sight of your mission
Yeah.
and the people that you serve.
It's all about the people.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to hear your final thoughts on what the future holds for impact assessment.
I think we're on the cusp of a major transformation, driven by technology collaboration and this growing demand for transparency and accountability.
So paint us a picture.
Sure.
What does this future look like?
I envision a world where impact data is readily available and easy for everyone to understand.
So not just the experts, but the everyday person can look at this and understand what it means.
Exactly. No more complicated metrics or having to dig through dense reports.
So transparency is key.
Transparency is key.
Oh,
Imagine interactive dashboards
okay.
that visualize impact in real time,
Okay.
allowing donors to track their contributions and see the difference they're making.
I love that would be game-changing for
Exactly.
philanthropy.
It would.
So engaging and transparent.
And I also see a future where AI plays a key role in analyzing and interpreting data,
Okay.
helping nonprofits make data-driven decisions and optimize their programs.
So it's like having a personal data scientist on your team
Exactly.
helping you make smarter decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this will allow organizations to be more efficient and effective and ultimately have more impact.
That's an exciting vision.
It is.
But, as with any technological advancement, there are potential pitfalls that we have to be
Yes.
aware of.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of data privacy. Make sure AI is used ethically
Right.
and responsibly. And avoid creating a system that's overly reliant on tech at the expense of human connection.
It's about finding that balance
It is.
between technology and preserving the human element,
Yes,
which is so important to this work.
it is.
Okay.
And ultimately, it's about using these powerful tools to create a more just and equitable and sustainable world for everyone.
What a beautiful thought. And on that note, we'll wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into nonprofit impact assessment. We've talked about all these organizations using all this great tech and techniques,
Right.
but what about us?
Yeah.
The everyday people who want to support causes that we believe in.
Right.
How can we make sure that our donations are making a difference?
That's a great question. And it goes back to something we talked about earlier, transparency.
Okay.
Nonprofits are getting better at sharing those impact stories and making their data accessible.
So it's not just about trusting them.
Right.
It's about having the information
It is.
to see for ourselves.
Exactly. The article encourages us to be informed donors.
Okay.
Take some time, explore those organizations that you support, look for their impact reports and case studies, and see how they're actually using your money to make a difference.
It's like being a detective for good.
It is. What else can we do?
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Reach out to those organizations.
Okay.
Inquire about their methods.
Mm-hmm.
Find out how they're tracking their progress and showing results.
Most nonprofits are happy to show that information.
They
Right?
are. They're proud of the work they're doing, and they want to be transparent.
Absolutely. And the article talks about a really cool example of an organization that took a bold approach to change
Okay.
environmental defense.
Yes.
They shifted their whole strategy when it came to working with corporations.
Yeah, they used to be known for taking that confrontational approach,
Mhm.
suing companies that were polluting. Oh, wow. Okay, so like David and Goliath.
It was, but I guess they realized suing wasn't always the best way to make that lasting change.
Lord, so what did they do?
They started partnering with corporations, working with them to come up with more sustainable practices.
Wow, that's a huge shift.
It was a big shift.
Did it work?
It did. They had some early success partnering with companies like McDonald's,
McDonald's, wow.
helping them improve their packaging and reduce their environmental impact.
Okay, so they went from suing corporations to shaping policies with them.
They did. What a transformation.
That's a huge change.
It is. And since then, they've influenced tons of companies and helped to shape major environmental policies.
Wow, that's amazing. It shows what can happen when you find common ground and work together.
It does.
You can have huge wins
Duke,
for everyone.
absolutely. It's a great example of how nonprofits can use their influence to drive positive change.
Yeah, and it reminds us that impact can take so many forms.
It can,
From, changing one person's life
right?
to protecting the whole planet. Exactly. It's been fascinating exploring all of this with you. It has. I feel like I have like a whole new understanding of how nonprofits are showing their impact.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for the nonprofit world.
It is.
With all these new methods and tech and these collaborative approaches,
Yeah.
they're better equipped than ever
To make a difference.
to make a real difference.
And to show that difference.
Exactly, and it's about making sure that every dollar and every hour that's volunteered
Mm-hmm.
is really making an impact.
Absolutely. It's about creating a more transparent and impactful nonprofit sector.
And one that's worthy of our support.
Well said. That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you've learned something new and feel inspired to make a difference.